2 Kings 17. So Hosea was the last king of Israel, and he did evil, but less evil, I guess. But then, so then the king of Assyria invaded, and then Hosea. Sorry, I read this at lunch, so I'm kind of rusty. Yeah, so the Israelites were sent to Assyria, and God wrote that this is because they have sinned, that they set up sacred stones and a Asherah pole on every high hill, and that God had already said to not do this, and the Lord warned Israel through his prophets and seers to turn from their evil ways, but they didn't. And so they imitated the nations around them, even though God already repeatedly told them to not do what the other nations do. And so they even sacrificed their sons and daughters. And so he gave them over to the Assyrian. They were taken from their homeland into exile in Assyria. And then it also talked about how the king of Assyria brought people from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, whatever, these names, and settled them in the towns of Samaria. But then God sent lions because they did not worship the Lord, and so he sent a priest. So the king, the people reported to the king the reason, and then so the king of Assyria gave one of the priests back to teach them, but those people actually worship God and other gods, their own local gods. Like they had different name for different thing from where they were from, and so that continue on. And it says to this day, to the day that this book, 2 Kings, was and this chapter was written, that it persisted, that they continue to persist in their formal practices. And so today the pastor was talking about this very thing, how people, they started to worship, like in us there's a need for worship, and people, instead of worshiping God, they worship creation. They worship things created by God or imaginary thing created by men, and it's like they exchange the fountain of living water, which is God, for a broken cistern that can hold no water. And then elsewhere in the Bible, it also said that if you worship gods that can't see and gods that can't hear, you become deaf and blind like them. And these people are kind of like that. And they don't just focus all their heart and soul and mind on God. They are kind of like covering their bases, and they are kind of like, it's, I don't understand why people have such a divided heart. Like they can't love God with all their heart. Why is that such a hard thing to do? Why are they so enticed to follow golden calves or Asherah pole? And why are they so, like, they do it to the point where they sacrifice their own children? I just don't understand what is it in human that those kind of nasty practice is more seductive or more lucrative than worshiping God, who has shown himself to be faithful, constant, unchanging, merciful, and providing. I just don't understand that, but that's what history record, and that's actually what the current culture does. So it's just, I just don't understand that kind of mentality of not seeking out what is true, not seeking, like God said that he is the one true God. Why don't you investigate it? Why don't you investigate his claim? Why do you follow blindly the practices of your ancestors? And not only that, if your ancestor like practices are good, then that's maybe something to see in there. But most of these practices are bad, and yet it continues, and they basically turn to fables, and that's what the Bible record. People turn to fables as their worship instead of worshiping the truth, the true God who stands for truth. And it's just so sad for God to be rejected that way. And yet he is constant, and he is like loving to pursue us until our last breath. And I've watched videos of people who actually like have a change of heart, who turn at after death, like during their passage to the afterlife. It's called like a near-death experience, and I don't believe in most of it, but there are some that made me kind of like I think it's valid. But yeah, so there's many ways that God works, and God works miraculously. But one thing that he doesn't fail is he doesn't fail to show us his constant love and pursuit of us. He will pursue us until we reject him, like until there's a point of no return. And I hope that anyone who's listening to this, that you will take that time to seek God, to find God, because God said that whoever seek me with all their heart will find him. And he's just ready. He's ready to confirm your faith. But you just need to seek him with all of your heart, to seek the truth with all of your heart, and you will find him.